Hello, class. For my case study, I chose to look at the expansive and intrusive nature of accessing big data and personal information. This topic spans across both the law enforcement and business intelligence spectrum, and I'm going to touch mostly on a law enforcement example, but also include business examples. From a law enforcement perspective, the San Bernardino mass shooter case resulted in a legal battle between the FBI and Apple in regards to the access of an encrypted iPhone 5C. FBI recovered the iPhone of the shooter, Syed Rizwan Farook, who, along with his wife, Tashfeen Malik, killed 14 people and wounded 22 others at a San Bernardino County Health Department gathering on December 2, 2015. The FBI treated this as an act of terrorism, as Malik had posted allegiance to ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi on behalf of both attackers and given reason to believe there was valuable information on Farook's iPhone 5C that could give information into Farook's activity leading up to the attack. The iPhone was encrypted, but Apple refused to unlock the phone to protect the civil liberty and privacy and the Fourth Amendment rights of its customers, not wanting to set a precedent for the government to be able to unlock iPhones through a backdoor capability, which would ultimately weaken the security of technology company systems and products. U.S. Magistrate Judge Sherry Pimoff of U.S. District Court Central District of California had ordered Apple to help the Federal Bureau of Investigation unlock the Apple 5C, formerly owned by Syed Rizwan Farook. Even Michael Hayden, former director of the NSA and CIA, came out in support of Apple. He said, "America is simply more secure with unbreakable end-to-end encryption." So the FBI ultimately worked with San Bernardino County to reset the iCloud password and access iCloud backup data. And eventually, the case concluded by, after a lengthy, highly publicized battle, the FBI paid an unidentified vendor who provided a tool to unlock the iPhone and ended the court battle, where it was asking for Apple's assistance. So first, I want to look at a few ethical theories that don't withstand this case, but there are arguments that could be made. So I think there is an argument that the FBI's decision to hire a hacker could be ethical from a utilitarian perspective, and removing the legal case with Apple, because taking this action didn't set a legal precedent, as they only wanted access to this one phone for important information that might lead to stopping more threats to the U.S. So if the U.S. citizens can understand that there wasn't a backdoor created to access their iPhones through a legal precedent, then there could be more happiness than unhappiness, because people will be wanting to stop the threat that terrorists and their potential comrades might be planning. But this is a tough argument, because the American people would have to see this from this perspective and not from a view of infringing on their right to privacy, which is a key liberty that Americans greatly value. So enacting to stop these terrorists and get justice for the victims and show that the United States will not stand for this type of attack, I think the American people could be more happy than unhappy. So I want to look at this from Bentham's utilitarian calculations to show how iffy it is. If the people realize a precedent was not set and this action was taken to protect the U.S. people, there will be more numbers of people happy than unhappy with the United States taking this action to show that they will not stand for terrorism in our country, and also do it for the justice of the victims, and do their due diligence to find out everything possible about these attackers. The intensity of the happiness is in question because of whether or not the American people see it from an infringing aspect, or if they see it from a government trying to protect the homeland. The duration of the happiness depends on what information is found on the phone. So after all of this, if they don't find any valuable information, then there won't the happiness or unhappiness won't last very long. And the certainty of the happiness is also unknown because it depends on whether helpful investigative material is on the phone, which they don't know yet. So they have to take action first to find out whether um, there is valuable information. Moving on, I want to look at this from the common good perspective. So the Santa Clara article talked about how appeals to the common good are confronted by the problem of an unequal sharing of burdens. So if the U.S. people see backdoor encryption, um, so from the common good perspective, U.S. citizens might see this as an unequal sharing of burdens, which is a problem confronted in the common good perspective. If iPhone users feel that they aren't as secure because of this case, then it won't withhold the common good. And the Santa Clara article also touched on how our culture views society as comprised of separate, independent individuals who are free to pursue their own individual goals and interests without interference from others. So if they view this case as infringing on that ability, and they think that they have to sacrifice some of their freedom and personal goals or self-interests, then this could also pose a problem for the common good. Finally, I think the theory that applies best is Aristotle's principle of justice, one that has been widely accepted since it was first defined by Aristotle more than 2,000 years ago, which states that equals should be treated equally and unequals unequally. In its contemporary form, this principle is sometimes expressed as follows: individuals should be treated the same unless they differ in ways that are relevant to the situation in which they are involved. So I think that Farouk taking this action and along with his wife killing 14 and injuring 22 others makes him different, and as the quote said, should be treated differently because this is relevant to the situation in which he and his wife were involved in. So I think that there is justice in getting access to his phone and his information to see who he's been in contact with in order to find justice for the victims and also to protect the American people from future attacks. Looking at this from Bellaby's just intelligence principles, first, I think there is just cause because of the threat to the American people and the possibility that there is information on this iPhone that could lead to other potential terrorist activities. This warrants getting the information on the iPhone to protect the people and give justice to the victims. Authority, FBI Director James Comey is a strong figure in the U.S. intelligence community, and his authorization, I believe, does give this proper authority. Right intentions. The intention of getting the information on this phone is to protect the American people and give due diligence to the case so that all possible threats can be thwarted and justice can be found for the victims and the protection of U.S. citizens in the future. Last resort, the FBI did try to work with Apple to have them assist in the case and even took it to the Central Court in California. So there were several other actions taken, and this was not just a jolt reaction to immediately seek an outside vendor. Proportionality. I think that um, this is a proportional action because the nature of this terrorist attack and the lives that were lost, um, um, and the information that could be on this phone that could save American lives in the future, um, does outweigh um, just not taking any action and um, missing out on possible information. And there's not a precedent set here. So the FBI is focusing on finding information from this one phone. And is there discrimination between the legitimate and illegitimate targets? Yes. The FBI has sought the information on this one phone and chose to use an outside vendor because Apple wasn't cooperating, but that also meant that a precedent wasn't set so that um, the security of technology companies isn't weakened, and they focused on this one phone. So I think it is interesting to look at this case from the just intelligence principles, and it is, to me at least, seems to be more in line with those than trying to apply them to other ethical theories such as common good and utilitarianism. Finally, I just wanted to touch on one major concern that was highlighted in one of the readings by professor of philosophy at Santa Clara University, Shannon Valor. She said that big data could be used to discriminate with analytics as a quick and dirty form of redlining. Certain types of people could be classified as poor risks for employment, healthcare interventions, or educational services, for example. So the selling of personal information isn't just infringing on your civil liberty to privacy, but could also be discriminative towards certain groups. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Have a good week, everybody.